last day and change has been the worst day of polling for Donald Trump during his entire second term in office. What am I talking about here? Take a look at Trump's net approval rating. CNN, you see it on this side of the screen, -5. Gallup, -6. Ipsos, -7. Quinnipiac, -4. Negative, 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 underwater, 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 underwater. These four polls, all of them tell a consistent story, and that is Trump is on the negative side of the ledger. His net approval is negative. He is underwater like the Little Mermaid.
Ouch. Donald Trump received some genuine nightmare news in the form of back-to-back-to-back-to-back devastating polling, even in an area that Trump has historically enjoyed an outsized advantage. This is going to hit him where it hurts and signals that the honeymoon period Trump enjoyed may be over. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we're going to let Harry Enton of CNN unpack the rest of this, and I'll see you on the other side. And just in the meantime, while you're listening, savor every devastating second of Donald Trump's failure.
All right. What are the changes since the beginning of his term?
Oh,
January.
Right. All right. So we don't have a CNN poll to compare, but we do have the other three pollsters that we can look at. Trump's net approval rating, the change since January. Look at this. Gallup, down 5 points. Quinnipiac, down 7 points. Ipsos, down 13 points. They polled right at the beginning of his presidency, so not a big surprise that shows the worst change for Donald Trump. But the bottom line is this. Across the four new polls that we have, all of them have Trump in net negative approval rating, and the three in which we have a trend line, we see Donald Trump heading in the wrong direction, swimming upstream, you might say.
What is driving this? Like, what is making people so upset?
Yeah, you know, one of Donald Trump's great strengths during his first term, one of Donald Trump's great strengths during the 2024 campaign was the economy, the idea that Donald Trump could fix the economy. This was one of Donald Trump's great strengths. Now it's one of his great weaknesses. What am I talking about? Trump's net approval rating. You go back to his first term, February 2017, Ipsos, he was at plus 16 points on his net approval. Quinnipiac, plus 6. Look at where he is now in Ipsos. He's 8 points underwater on the economy. Quinnipiac, 4 points under on the economy. I honestly never thought I'd see the day in which Donald Trump would be polling so poor on the economy, but that day is here. As I said last week, inflation ate the Joe Biden presidency alive, and right now it is very much the case that Donald Trump is in danger of inflation eating his presidency alive because his net approval ratings on the economy are underwater.
So this is really good news, quite frankly, again, for those of us especially who recognize that Donald Trump is an incompetent president, in addition to being a threat to democracy. It's also deliciously ironic. And the reason I say that is because Trump actively campaigned. Trump helped set the stage for this. Okay, he really did. I'll remind you, we got a couple of clips to play. 2 clips of Donald Trump on the campaign stage promising to end inflation for Americans on day one. Here's one clip.
Starting on day one of my new administration, we will end inflation and we will make America affordable again because the prices are too high. The prices are too high.
And again, it's not like he just said that one time. He set this expectation all throughout the campaign as he sought people's votes, not just Republicans, but also independents and Democrats as well. Here's another clip.
So when I win, I will immediately bring prices down. Starting on day one, we will end Kamala's war on American energy, and we will drill, baby, drill. We're going to drill.
So again, immediately he would end inflation. He would cut prices. He would cut costs, both for gas and groceries and energy, all of it for the American people. He set the expectation that he's just so damn good that he could snap his fingers on day one and end it. And he didn't, because of course he didn't, because he couldn't. No president could. He lied to your face for your damn vote. And now he is desperate. He and J.D. Vance and the Trump administration are desperate to avoid any sort of accountability for setting the expectations and failing abysmally. This was, again, just a reminder of what Trump recently said in his joint Fox News interview with co-president Elon Musk.
Yeah. And inflation is back. I'm only here for 2.5 weeks.
That was January.
Inflation
You were there
is
for a
back.
week.
No, think of it. Inflation's back. And they said, oh, Trump, I had nothing to do with it. These people have run the country. They spent money.
You said you could solve it day one. People are absolutely within their rights to hold you to your word. You set the expectation. You did it deliberately. You deceived people. And now you're trying to shirk responsibility for it because it turns out the president can't snap his fingers and end inflation or cut gas prices or cut grocery prices or anything else. J.D. Vance earlier today was in Germany, or excuse me, he was somewhere in Europe at CPAC, and trying to effectively send the same message. Like, you guys can't hold us accountable for inflation, even though we told you that we could effortlessly end it on day one. Just give us some time.
Interviews I did, it was, I think, 6 or 7 days after the inauguration. And somebody asked me, well, it's been 6 days. What have you guys done to fix the inflation crisis created by Joe Biden? I'm like, well, first of all, it's been 6 days. We've done a lot in 6 days, but it's going to take some time to fix what Joe Biden broke over 4 years. And we know it is easy, unfortunately, to burn the house down. It takes a little bit of time to build it back up. And here's what.
That is true. It is easier to destroy than to create, but you all are the embodiment of destruction. The modern MAGA Republican Party is the embodiment of destruction. Again, folks, please understand this. They were lying then, and they're lying now. They want you to believe that, well, the expectation of us to be able to single-handedly save the economy from inflation, that's being externally imposed by the liberal media. No. Your boss set that expectation himself, and you went along with it. You didn't correct him and say, Donald, we don't promise that. We can't snap our fingers and end inflation. You didn't. You lied to people to get their votes, and now as they're becoming pissed that you have failed once again to deliver on your promise, you're hoping to shirk responsibility. Oh, inflation was Joe Biden's fault. No proof of that whatsoever. Inflation was a global phenomenon, and if you want to attribute massive government spending to inflation, Donald Trump spent more in his first term than Joe Biden did in his second term. So once again, they're trying to dishonestly have it both ways. And it seems like the American people are catching on to the dishonesty, which is really encouraging. As Reuters discusses, Trump's approval rating slips as Americans worry about the economy. Trump's approval rating has ticked slightly lower in recent days as more Americans worried about the direction of the U.S. economy as the new leader threatens a host of countries with tariffs. It also compares to President Biden's honeymoon period. And I'll point out that people want to say, oh, Trump's approval rating has been pretty high. Well, no, it's been relatively high for him. But compared to this point in President Biden's administration, like you basically compare Biden and Trump at the same point in the timeline during their respective presidencies, and Biden was much more popular. So Trump has just never been a particularly popular person. He won the popular vote, but not with a majority, with a simple plurality. More people voted against Trump than voted for him. And again, the fact that he is polling so poorly on the economy is not good. But the share of Americans who think the economy is on the wrong track rose to 53% in the latest poll from the 43% back in late January. So the number of people, more than 50%, a majority of Americans, according to Reuters, think that on Donald Trump's watch, the country is heading in the wrong direction, economically speaking. Gallup, Trump's job approval rating at 45%. Congress's jumps to 29%. Congress is not particularly popular. Trump's ratings similar on immigration, foreign affairs, trade, and economy. Republicans broadly approve of Trump's overall and on issues. 12.1 month rise in approval of Congress to 29% due to GOP support. Less than 1 month into a second term in office, Donald Trump's approval rating is at 45%, similar to his first post-inauguration rating of 47%. And again, we are seeing declines with respect to the economy of all things, where he has enjoyed colossal advantage overall for years. I mean, the Republicans for decades have enjoyed the perception of being better on the economy, right? Now, I would argue the facts in terms of their economic stewardship don't align with it, but perception is reality. People vote on how they feel and what they believe, not what necessarily is what is true. You actually have to take the facts and convey them, parlay them into persuasive narratives. The Democrats have simply failed to do this time and time again. And then Trump, being seen as this mimetic, brilliant, genius businessman, he was able to further increase the Republicans' perception of economic superiority. And yet here, in a stunning decline, we are seeing that advantage shrink. So the economy, right now, only 42%, according to Gallup, approve of his management of the economy, and 54% disapprove. That is stunning. Polls show dip in Trump approvals as he concedes inflation is back. This is from Time magazine, discussing the Gallup poll. Gallup, which has tracked the opening approval ratings for American presidents going back to President Dwight Eisenhower, found Trump's approval rating dipped slightly from 47% to 45% to mid-February. That's 15 points lower than the historical average of all other elected presidents at this point in their first terms since 1953. The poll found a majority of Americans don't like how Trump is handling the economy, with 54% of disapproving, and foreign trade, with 53% who disapprove. Stunning. Despite his historically low support among Americans more broadly, Republican voters remain strongly behind Trump. His approval rating among Republicans is 93%, while his approval among Democrats is 4%. Among independents, he only has a 37% approval. Not good news for Donald Trump. If you dig deeper into the Economist YouGov poll, there's some interesting things here with respect to like Elon Musk, for example. He is underwater in terms of favorability. People are not happy, again, with Trump's management of jobs in the economy, inflation. This stuff is devastating for Trump, devastating. And we're 1 month into his presidency. And it's just, again, so ironic because he was the one who set that expectation accordingly. I also point out, like even on this poll, when it comes to his management of international crises, more Americans than not are uneasy about his ability to manage foreign crises. When it comes to his health and age, more people think, more than the majority of Americans, as a matter of fact, think he is either severely limited in his ability to do the job in terms of his cognitive issues, or somewhat limited because of perceived cognitive issues in terms of his age and health. Again, not good. How concerned are you about the potential for conflicts of interest? More Americans than not are concerned that Trump's financial conflicts of interest and political conflicts of interest will impede his job. They also think that Elon Musk has an extreme level of influence over Trump, and they're not happy about it. So this is just bad news every which way for Trump. So I'm pretty happy with that. And again, it's entirely possible that somehow this will course correct for Trump over the next couple of months. It's possible. I don't think we should, remember, we're 1 month in. His influence, he's going to be president for 4 years, and we have no idea how this will track, but it's an encouraging sign that so quickly his relatively low approval rating is already starting to fall. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.